This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Sometimes, as a lady, one gets the feminine urge to have a brand new ensemble for the upcoming soiree. Sometimes, that upcoming soiree is the Tennessee Ren Fair. And sometimes the new ensemble you want is an entire suit of armor that you have less than a week to build. Some of you will remember, around this time last year, I became obsessed with the work of the candy makeup artists because you and my audience turned me on to them. Yes, as usual, this is once again your fault. My obsession started out with a porcelain corset set and was quickly followed up by a matching sword and shield, but do you really think I, as a maximalist, would be satisfied with so little? So here is my ill-conceived plan for getting all of this done, hopefully. I'm not planning on making like an entire suit of armor. I already have a corset, I already have... Okay, I'm not exactly sure what else from the original look I can use besides the corset. So we have a corset. In addition to a corset, I would like some kind of neck armor, perhaps pauldrons, elbow pieces, bracers, some kind of leg armor. And then, am I missing anything else? So the goal here is basically to take what I already have and make it a little bit more knight adjacent, match the sword and shield that I already have made, and then hopefully make the overall look more cohesive, more dramatic. Because I've worn what I already have alone on its own in the past, and it's great. I always need just a little bit more. I mean, listen, do you see me? I'm greedy whenever it comes to my fashion choices. So, I have 6 days to do this. This is an incredible amount of work to get done in pattern, so let's figure out some solutions to that, shall we? I normally like to draft armor patterns for stuff like this myself, but I do not have time for that this week, so instead, I have located a couple foam armor patterns on Etsy. I think all of these are from Kamui Cosplay. I've got some leg armor here. I really like the shape of these. I've got some pauldrons that I think would be really good for this, and then I also have some like bracer patterns, which a bracer is something I can draft myself, but I do really like the way the elbow pieces look. I have a very rough sketch of what I'm generally trying to go for here, so I think I'm going to use the Kamui Cosplay patterns for the leg armor and then for the pauldrons and try to pattern everything else myself. I think I'm also going to try to tweak the leg armor pattern just a little bit so I can get closer to my desired silhouette. So I'm gonna purchase and print out those patterns, but before I can do anything seriously, I need to acquire a gratuitous amount of poster board. Let's go. So now that all of my patterns are printed out and cut out, you are correct in thinking that this took several hours. Like I said, there are still a couple of pieces that I need to pattern out before I actually start transferring this onto the actual materials. One of those is the bracers. I actually have already done that because patterning bracers is like the easiest thing ever. I also patterned out some little decorative molding for it. And the harder side of that, I also patterned out kind of an elbow piece because that's something that I didn't end up buying. I would have shown it, but it was bamboozling me a little bit, so I just needed to figure it out, but I think that's pretty decent. So besides that, there are still 2 pieces that I have left that I want to pattern myself, and that is number 1, a neck piece, and number 2, this is more of an alteration. I kind of want to bring the height of the thigh armor up a little bit and even have it stick out the side. I have no idea in practice how practical it is or if you can do things like sit down. So hopefully this part is very straightforward. I want to make a line here with little registration marks, and then I'm thinking and have it extend not too far, and then generally same thing on the back. This is going to be detailed with paint and filigree molds, so nothing too fancy. So I redrafted the color pattern. I took in the shoulder so that I can move my arms a little bit easier, and then I also extended the back so that it actually goes down as far as I want. And then I also, of course, added a tiny little collar, just 3/4 of an inch. I should be able to add my pauldrons onto this and have a cool little neck plate. So what I'm generally thinking for the thigh armor is just a couple of extra plates like this. I have 2 more added plates on top, one stacking on top of the other just to give it some dimensionality, and they just sort of wrap around the back of my leg, and they're gonna fasten up front like this just to kind of extend the silhouette upwards, just, you know, to make it my own and for a little bit more added drama. And I think I should be able to still move in this. I can hinge my legs, so I should be able to sit down. I think I'm gonna use elasticized straps on this so that I have more mobility. I think that's the plan, but I'm gonna cross that bridge when I come to it. Okay, I think I have everything patterned and cut out at this point, so before I do anything else, I'm gonna transfer everything onto my lovely poster board here so that I can do a fitting and make sure that I can move in everything, and then I can just directly put Warbler over this. I might use foam for some of the pieces, especially some of the ones that are a little bit more curved, but I'm gonna use this as a base for most everything because this stuff is $1, so you can't really beat that. The beginning stages of a Warbler project is always fun because it always involves hours and hours of just cutting the same things out several times. I'm gonna be happy whenever I can just like put the scissors down for a minute.
Approximately 10 hours later.
So now we have got foot armor, shins, kneecaps, thighs. I still gotta cut one more of those out. We have bracers, elbow armor, the neck plate, and the pauldrons. It's not that bad. It's not that much. It's gonna be fine. So I'm ready for another extended cutting session where I transfer all of this now onto Warbler. This is gonna take forever to cut out. Finally cut out. Got shin armor, pauldrons, the feet, thigh pieces, elbows and bracers, neck piece, and the cat just finished sitting on the kneecaps. She is working very hard to meet our tight deadline this week, as you can see. So, now, did somebody order the meat? Finally. So now I'm gonna assemble everything. I love this part because this is where gratification from hours of cutting finally kicks in. You know who else loves this part? The one person who really does not need to be near the heat gun right now. So while the other Kira is complaining about how much time she had to spend cutting things, if you're in the market for a website or specifically a portfolio, this video sponsor Squarespace can help you build one and maintain one in no time. We're all incredibly busy these days, attention split a million different directions, so Squarespace allows you to be as hands-on or hands-off with the content of your site as you would like to be. You can either start by choosing from dozens of professionally designed flexible website templates that you can customize with text, colors, and their drag-and-drop website builder fluid engine to craft the perfect personalized site. Or you can take your hands off the wheel and let Squarespace's new Blueprint AI system generate your new site for you. With hints about your preferences, it'll generate your desired website pages, brand aesthetic, craft written descriptions with language that fits the mood of your site, and present you with professionally curated layouts and styling options for every device. And Squarespace even has an e-commerce platform with lots of hands-on options for sellers who create their products themselves, and hands-off options for people like me who would rather use a print-on-demand service through Squarespace's custom merch. And to make commerce even more convenient for your customers, they now have new flexible payment options that now allow you to accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, and offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay in eligible countries. And after all of this, whenever you're ready to launch your site, they have integrated SEO tools to help you gain traffic from the right audience more often, and integrated analytics to keep track of what lands with your viewers the most. So if you would like to get in on my exclusive offer, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/PricklyAlpaca to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much as always to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. I'm going a little insane. I should probably start.
If you're unfamiliar with thermoplastic or Warbler, thankfully the assembly process is extremely simple and straightforward. It doesn't require any glue. All you need is a heat gun and preferably a base piece made out of foam or poster board to shape your plastic around. Since thermoplastic sticks to itself, the pieces that would normally need to be assembled with contact cement can just be heated and stuck together, and this is also nice for fitting pieces around your body because you can assemble and heat form them to yourself all at once. Plus, if you need to alter the way a piece sits to make it a little bit more mobility friendly, they're easy enough to reheat and tweak as you go. Thermoplastic is such an expensive product, but it's my go-to material for armor for a lot of reasons. But despite the massive amount of assembly time it usually saves me, this assembly did take like a day and a half since each individual piece had to be heated and shaped, and by the end of this my brain was completely fried, not a thought left to be had. That's one of the reasons why I didn't talk to the camera much in this video. I had pretty much just no brain capacity left. Zero ability to be entertaining by the end of this, sorry. After everything was finally assembled,
Well, that took like 2 days.
I did need to think a little bit about fitting, articulation, and fastenings. I decided to use a couple of different methods for the pieces depending on how they had to move. So for all of the leg armor, I decided to use D-rings and elastics so the pieces could be flexible and move with me. Since the D-rings were going to have a lot of tension on them, I secured them in place with little square pieces of thermoplastic and also reinforced those with an additional piece of plastic on top of that. Each shin got 4 D-rings on each side, each thigh got 2 D-rings, and the elbows got 1 on each side. I decided to lace up the bracers to get a nice tight fit and to match the lacing on the back of my corset, and pauldrons are always a little tricky to keep in place, so I bought some buckles to attach them onto the neck piece. The straps were attached with Worbla onto the pauldrons and riveted into place on the neck piece itself, and this worked really well and gave a great range of motion. I'm actually very surprised. During my initial try-on, I noticed the way the thighs were cut was going to prevent me from being able to pin my leg all the way, so I also cut a curved portion out of the thigh pieces, which gave me a much better range of motion there. We love actually being able to walk.
I did not expect it to take me all day to get this armor fitted and articulated. That it did. This for sure took me all day. This piece I'm especially proud of because I was really worried about getting these pauldrons to stay in place, but like, look at that. Beautiful. As for the legs, it's as good as it's gonna get for today because I did not buy enough of these rings, but I'll take care of that tomorrow. But now it's time to sit back and forget about all of the hard parts of the video because it's decorating time. So not to immediately contradict myself, but even though we are about to get fancy, we're not getting too fancy because I've done all of this before many times. I'm a little worried that you guys are getting sick of watching this. Right now, my focus for the rest of the night, with what little brain power I have left, is to glue on all of my little decorations so that I can actually get to painting this. And I'm gonna do this the same way I do every single time. That's right. Is this technique in syndication? Because this is a rerun. Fondant and silicone molds again because I'm not being stupid this week. My greatest achievement on this project. I, this entire time, have behind the scenes, without you knowing, been making hot glue silicone mold pieces. Incredible. I forgot to mention I made matching stones to go with the pieces because I have stones in the things I've already made. So now I can just leisurely sit and glue these onto my pieces. I think I have a good mix of all of the pieces that I want. I just dropped one. I'm never going to be seeing that piece again. Oh, just kidding, there it is. I can't even tell if I got my point across. I'm that tired. Listen, it's not rocket science. I'm gonna put trim on everything.
So my method for prior pieces like the shield and the corset was to create more of a pattern with the mold pieces, kind of puzzle piece them into a decorative shape, but I didn't want the main armor to get too busy and didn't want the decorating to take like forever. So this time I really just focused on adding a couple of focal pieces to each of the armor pieces and did most of the other decoration with trim pieces on the side so that it all matches. I also made a point to focus most of the additional detail on the neck, pauldrons, bracers, and shin pieces and kept the intermediate pieces a little bit more simple. Take a shot of water every time I say the word pieces. I also decided to really minimize the detail in a couple of places by just adding a slight ridge with hot glue instead of adding an entire line of trim, and I really liked the variation that this brought. I know this looks a little messy and crazy at first, but you just gotta trust the process. I can confirm this was another ridiculously late night, but at least I was awake late enough to see this weird heat lightning. I love it when nature matches my level of chaos.
Hi there. Welcome to the final day that I intend to work on this project, which means today I have to base paint everything, do all of the gradients with my airbrush, then do all the detail painting by hand on all of the pieces. I also need to take some rub and buff, make all of the gold filigree pieces actually gold. Is that everything? And then they also need an enamel clear coat to actually make them look like they are porcelain. That is something that I might do tomorrow because I anticipate it getting dark before I'm ready for that step. So essentially what I'm saying here is this is entirely too much for me to expect to get done in a day, but I also apparently like to suffer. So we're gonna do it.
Military smuggled weapons.
While this airbrush is occasionally the bane of my existence, there is a piece that goes on the front of your airbrush called the nozzle, and it's simply gone. I'm so mad. It is simultaneously probably one of the best purchases I've ever made. That took maybe half an hour. This will also be the last time that something goes quickly because I'm about to hand detail paint all of this.
Hi babe, can I borrow this? Can I borrow? Thank you.
This is also probably about to get super repetitive because this is probably the third time that I've done this exact same thing on the channel, but I want more armor, so suck it up. In case you weren't here for the 2 prior installments of this project, it's time to make all this armor look like this. You see all the little details that are hand painted on here? This is gonna suck. So this and all the other pieces that I have are my point of reference for this, and I'm gonna try to replicate the style that I did on here as closely as possible. It's gonna vary a lot, probably. I think I'm gonna keep most of the detail on the pauldrons and neck piece, bracers, and then also the shin and kneecap pieces. Do a little bit less detail on like the thighs and some of the intermediate pieces just to break down the amount of visual noise happening on the project, and also to save me a little bit of time on painting things that have like a lot of real estate, like the thigh pieces. Just don't feel like it. Not gonna do it. Once I get this done, I hopefully will be feeling myself rounding the home stretch. It's currently 8 p.m. I'm feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed because I'm drinking a coffee. What did I say earlier in this video? Let's do it. So whenever I'm doing this kind of painting, I have a set of shape motifs that I continually use and build off of to make patterns look as matching as possible, even though I'm painting these kind of at random for the most part. Most of the shapes I'm using are inspired by traditional filigree motifs, so I can look at the trim I've already glued on for reference, but I also want to simplify everything a little bit, so I generally use a combination of these shapes across all of the pieces with floral motifs and dots to add in detail.
Consider my lizard brain activated.
I also make sure to add in plenty of curls and crossing lines to make everything look a little bit more intricate and dynamic, and to mirror the design on the matching piece of armor, I'd just take a photo of it with my iPad and mirror the photo in the iPad editor so I'd have a perfect reference for how to copy that design. And then from there I just did that for every single piece, and again this project took absolutely every ounce of my brain power this week, and I can't believe it didn't come back to bite me in the ass. Okay, I'm without words. I can't believe I got all of this done in one evening. My back hurts and my neck is numb, but it looks really good, so I'd say it's worth it. I definitely got a little sloppy in a couple of places because, oh my god, I'm not even gonna tell you how late it is because some of y'all that have more sense than I do are gonna yell at me in the comments, but the last thing that I need to do tonight, I gotta make all of the trim gold, and I'm gonna do this slightly different than I did it on this one. The method that I'm using this time, instead of gold spray paint, I'm gonna use rub and buff again, which is something that I've done in the past and it worked really, really well, and it doesn't take nearly as long because it's more of a dry brush method. So I'm gonna do this and hopefully it takes maybe an hour and a half. We'll see if that's a fair estimate at the end of all of this. Let's do it so I can go to bed.
My 100th Psych rewatch is the only thing keeping me sane tonight.
So like I said, I did save a couple of things for day 6. First of all, I wanted to give all of my armor a nice enamel clear coat to seal it, and unfortunately, not only was it super humid outside that day, but it also started raining right in the middle of doing this, so it did end up dulling the color a little bit, and I'm probably gonna have to go back in and give it another coat of enamel. After that dried, I quickly took care of all of the fastenings off camera because I was in a hurry to get in the car and drive to Tennessee that evening. This was really just a matter of tying on a bunch of elastic,
attaching a couple of buckles with rivets, and really trying to try things on and make sure that I had all of the fastenings that I needed to make sure this armor stayed on my body. And I'm happy to report that all of the fastenings were successful and nothing fell off of me during Ren Fair. That is, except for the boot armor, because even though they turned out looking really cool, they were not the most comfortable, so I didn't wear them either for the photo shoot or at Ren Fair, so consider this your reveal of the boot armor. Sorry. But with that, it's finally time to show you all what the armor looks like on my body. Hello and welcome to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it's been a while since I made a bigger project like this, and it was so much fun to get back into it. I had a lovely time, but I'm also very, very tired right now. Is that going to stop me from doing this again though? Absolutely not. So if you do have other cool projects like this that you would like to see me do please leave some suggestions in the comments. I also just wanted to say I had so much fun wearing this at the Tennessee Ren Fair. If you coincidentally were one of the people who saw my armor and came up to me and complimented it or asked how it was made, thank you so much. It really made Ren Fair a very memorable day, and you are all very, very kind. Too kind, actually. It was overwhelming, not allowed. But of course, the kindest of you are also the ones who deserve the most praise, and that is my amazing patrons, and especially my executive producers. Thank you for being so patient while I indulge my whims this week. A massive thank you goes to Lunira, Infinity131, Faith, Mossy Raven, hit that notification bell, I'm not saying that name on the internet, ABW Makes, Sarah, Crimson Moon 04, Awendu, Liana, Ermler Jean, Anubix, Breeza, Sony, Brian, Phoenix, Rose Draconi, Ira, Freedom and Gus Gus, Dodo, Zyle S, Agent.Sketchy, Thea Maia, Lovisa, Eloquent Silence, Megan Penland, Enozyne, India Gloom, Hypnos, Katie, Sweet Winter Garden, Gravity Drop, I Hang Out with Cats at Parties, and Bean the Bread. There we go!